All right, hello everyone. My name is izzyhope58 and I am so excited to be here at Flame Fatales running Disney Infinity Inside Out, my favorite speed game for my favorite movie of all time. I'm also joined by my wonderful commentator.
Hello everyone, I'm Echo Tree. I'll be helping Izzy along with this run. It's going to be quite the show, so I hope you're ready.
I'm so excited. So we are going to get started in 3, 2, 1, go. So Disney Infinity is kind of a collection of various different playsets for different Disney movies and properties. The Inside Out playset's actually very unique as it's more of a 3D platformer. I kind of like to think of it as kind of a Mario 3D World type of style. Our fastest form of movement is going to be a combination of rolling and dashing. We're also playing as Fear, who is our fastest character movement speed-wise, but we'll also be switching to almost all the other emotions throughout the run. And then we're going to be jumping on these platforms here to try to make this pretty tight bridge cycle. You'll also see that this game, all throughout these levels, there'll be these various different springs. Oh dear, I missed the bridge. One moment. So yeah, there's these various different springs all throughout the levels that will bounce us up. If you do a dash off of one of those springs, you'll actually get sent flying through the air. And that's called a spring boost, which is going to be a big piece of tech throughout the run. So we'll bounce up these first few springs here. And then line ourselves up on this spring, press the dash button, and go flying through the air. And then we'll do another spring boost around this corner, and then do some rolls and dashes up this hill. We also have these memories that we can put in these memory deposit stations that will get rid of these blocks and solve some puzzles. We also have extended spring boosts where if you hold the dash button instead of tapping it, it'll send you much further. So we're going to be doing that up here. We're also going to be switching characters over to Sadness here. Sadness has a pretty cool ability where if she slams her face into the ground and then jumps, she'll just go flying through the air. That's called Sadness Flying, so incredibly broken. We'll be using that all throughout the run as well. And then
Sadness is my favorite character. I'm so glad she has such a cool tech.
I know. So the funny thing is, in the run originally, we actually never used Sadness. Similar to how in the movie, they didn't really think Sadness was a useful emotion, but both in the movie and in the speedrun, we realized that she's incredibly powerful. So kind of a parallel to the movie. So half the levels in this game are kind of 3D levels that we just had, and half of them are actually these 2D side-scrolling levels where we're locked into moving left and right and we can't move forward or backwards. You would think, but there's actually a glitch that allows us to gain full control of 3D movement in these 3D levels called dimension breaking that we're going to see in a moment here, which actually makes these levels quite a bit unique and interesting and a lot of stuff going on. So we're going to make our way over here, and there's going to be a memory that we can put in a deposit station. And if we start to deposit the memory and then immediately throw it, that will put us into 3D movement. And then we're going to jump around this wheel on that little cog there. And then here you have to be incredibly careful when moving in Dimension Break because the collision is not really designed for this. So it's very easy to accidentally fall out of bounds or kind of run into certain bits of collision because this isn't meant to happen. So I'm actually using the D-pad here to purposely only move left or right to make sure I don't accidentally move forward or backwards unless I'm purposely trying to jump around an obstacle. So I'm going to be making my way up here. And we're going to skip this memory deposit thing by jumping on this wheel, landing here, and then jump here to grab that memory. Awesome. And then I'm going to do another one here. I like to use the balloons to know about when I get back to the normal plane of movement. The camera is not really designed for us to be moving forward and backwards here, so it's a little bit tricky to gauge how far forward or back you are in Dimension Break. So using cues like popping balloons definitely helps quite a bit.
I see a question in chat that is pretty good. It says, do we need to collect all the figurines to use their characters in the game? So Izzy's actually playing on the Gold Edition, which does not require the physical characters that you would if you would be playing this on console.
Yeah, so all of the different characters, I don't know why it spawned us into the next level early there. That was weird. So yeah, because we're playing on the PC version, we actually have all the characters in a menu that we can use just here in order to swap characters, whereas on the console version, you would use the physical figures in the base. We're going to do another Sadness Fly there. So a lot of menuing for this. Another thing that we can do in this run is something called swap jumping, where if we swap characters right as the swap happens, you can regain your double jump. So we're going to use that to make some extra jumps. A big part of the routing in this game is routing when to switch characters, both for their special abilities and also for swap jumping, which is a really fun part of the routing in this game. So we're going to be doing some Sadness Flying here in a bit, along with a swap jump. Going to be coming up here and swapping over to Sadness. And then swap jump. And then we'll do a few Sadness Flyings, which so cool that we found this. This was found a couple years ago. And it completely revolutionized the game for like the second or third time. Absolutely crazy tech that this is just in the game. And then just barely made that cycle. We're gonna wait for this platform to start to move up and then swap back over to Fear to get another swap jump. And then we're gonna do a dimension break here and go behind these blocks, jump around this wheel, try to get that checkpoint, and then also have to be a little bit careful of taking damage, because taking damage can send you flying forward or backwards, which can be very bad when you're in dimension break. So jumped around those blocks, and now we're on to another 3D level.
And how many total levels are there in
There's
the New Game Plus route?
Almost 30 levels. There's like 29 something. So this level is kind of our intended tutorial for all the different characters. And there's these quick swap stations that are useful for changing characters. Inger's ability is standing on lava without getting hurt, but we're actually never going to use Inger in the run. Just at the moment isn't useful in the route, so we just use Sadness to fly across there instead. Disgust's special ability is to be able to bounce super high up on clouds, so we'll use that for this section here. And then Sadness's intended ability is to stand on clouds without them fading away, but instead we're going to use her other special ability, which is flying through the air. And then Fear's special ability is just faster movement speed, which is why we use him as our main character throughout the run. And then Joy's special ability is having a hover after double jumping. We are going to be skipping her tutorial section, but we are going to be using Joy's hover for a skip coming up at the end of the level to skip depositing one of these memories.
Now, I know
characters in this
not
seem
in this
awesome.
game, but if Anxiety was, what do you think that Anxiety's special ability would be?
Ooh. That's a tricky question. I haven't thought about that before. Yeah, so we got a... We're gonna be utilizing Sadness Flying and Joy's Hover and Swap Jumping to do this final skip here. Gonna jump on top of these blocks. We're going to swap over to Joy and then buffer a swap over to Fear. Do a Sadness Fly into a swap jump to Joy's Hover, into one last swap jump to Fear to get to the end of the level there.
Nice.
That's a really cool skip. So yeah, that's interesting what the other characters' special abilities would be, like Envy, Embarrassment, Ennui, and Anxiety. So
I would love to see a sequel to this with all the new characters.
I know, right? Maybe like a fan-made mod someday get more levels with more characters. Another extend spring boost, just flying throughout this level. We have these memory workers that can activate these machines that we need to bring over to them. Jumping and then grabbing them allows us to move a lot faster. Grabbing them just normally, you walk quite a bit slower.
Maybe embarrassment would be able to like hide from enemies or go invisible.
Yeah, like a stealth mechanic. That would be cool.
Yeah, I could see that.
Do either of you have a preference of Inside Out 1 or 2? Do you have a favorite between the two of them?
Ooh.
So Inside Out 1's actually my favorite movie of all time. Favorite Pixar film and just favorite film. So definitely that's a preference, but Inside Out 2 is definitely up there. I saw it in theaters like 4 or 5 times when it was in theaters, and so I really like both movies, but Inside Out 1 still takes the lead for me.
Yeah, I'd love to hear chat if chat has a favorite between Inside Out 1 or 2, or even like just let me know what your favorite Pixar movie is of all time. I would love to hear that as well.
Yeah. My top 3 are Inside Out, WALL-E, and The Incredibles. And now would actually be a good time for anything you would like to read out. We have a little bit of just simple levels here.
Of course. We had $25 from Anonymous saying, shout out to all the NBs out there. Trans rights. We also had $10 from Anonymous with no comment, and thank you so much. That is a very good example that you can donate anonymously and with no comment. If you just want to help us reach our incentive, which right now we have 185 out of the 500 for our Secrets Showcase, you can help us. Any little bit counts. You don't have to leave a comment or your name. We appreciate it. It all goes to Malala Fund.
They're just doing a couple of swap jumps here with Joy's hover just to skip a little bit of stuff here, and we're nearing the end of this level here. These platforms can be a little bit tricky. Sometimes they can fall out just right when you land on them. So we got another 3D level here. We're gonna do a spring boost here. Extended spring boost, you can actually hit a wall and still gain some of your momentum. Here we actually can't do a spring boost because we're next to a wall, so we just have to do a normal spring boost there. Get these clouds. So the levels are kind of split in groups of 3. So we have like 3 cloud levels coming up, and like we have music levels later on. So they're all kind of in groups of 3. So there's lots of levels to route out and run. Having a little bit of trouble with these clouds fading away. We're gonna try to do a big extended spring boost across this gap.
Whoa, that was a nice launch.
Yeah. Some of the launches are just so cool looking because it just sends you so far and allows you to skip so much of the level. Gonna swap over to Sadness here and wait for these clouds to come up, and then we're gonna do Sadness Fly here. Whoops. Mistimed that just a little bit. Let's try that again. There we go. And then we'll swap back over to Fear. Sometimes when dashing, you can lock onto enemies. So these broccolis here make this spring boost a little bit tricky, along with the fact that we have to not land on lava and also not land on the spring, just like barely land on that tiny little ledge. So that was good. We're going to heavily utilize dimension breaking in this level. This level is very useful for skipping a ton of puzzles. This level introduces these musical switches that will move with the music that we can turn on and off to like turn certain instruments on and off. So, which is pretty cool. We're gonna take some damage on this second red block and then use our invincibility frames to jump on this third one, and then turn on the green switch here.
Is the story of this game very similar to the movie as well? You're inside Riley's mind trying to get back to headquarters?
So yeah, the story in the playset, it actually takes place after the movie, so I guess this would be kind of an in-between-quel. Let me explain this skip first, and then I'll explain the story. So we're doing dimension break there, and then we're just going to tap back just a little bit and stand just on the edge of these blocks. And then we can do that again for the end of this level and just skip right to the end, skipping 2 different puzzles. The story in this game is basically Riley watched a movie while falling asleep, and like a scary movie, and now is having nightmares with broccoli and swamp monsters and all that, and we have to figure out how to stop it all, basically. I swapped to the wrong character here. I was supposed to swap to Sadness. So we're going to do Extend Spring Boost, Sadness Fly over here, and then we're going to swap back to Fear along with a swap jump here. Turn this switch on and turn it back off.
Speaking of monsters real quick, we had a $20 donation from the speedrun monster saying, I need more speedrun. Num, num, num.
Yeah, this is a really fun speedrun. If you're looking for like a good 3D platformer with lots of movement and tricks, highly recommend this one. Not a lot of runners, but there's lots of cool tech to it, and lots of stuff is being found all the time. Like, new things are still being found constantly in this game. So if you're looking for a new game that's Disney, highly recommend picking this up. It goes on sale quite often on Steam. I don't know if it's on sale right now, but you can pick up the Disney Infinity Bundle for pretty cheap. All 3 of the games.
How has the route changed the most over the past couple years, besides the sadness skip?
Yeah, so Sadness Flying, Dimension Break has been like a big thing that's changed the run for the 2D levels. Yeah, just like figuring out different swap jump sequences and different places to spring boost. Like, the 2 big improvements have been like Dimension Break and Sadness Flying. Yeah, now would be a good time for some more donations if you got them.
Of course, I wanted to remind everyone I love seeing your answers to your favorite Disney movies and Pixar movies in chat, but I would love to see them in the donations because we have that secret showcase that we are so close to meeting, and when you donate, you can just put your donation towards that incentive and it'll help us get there, and it'll help us get closer to 71,000. And we have people helping us out there. We had $10 from Thrawn44. No comment, but thank you so much for helping us reach our goal.
Yeah, let us know what your favorite Disney Pixar movie is. Both Izzy and I, extremely big Disney Pixar fans.
I am notoriously known by all my friends as a hardcore Disney Pixar fangirl since I was like 3 or 4 years old. Pixar is lifelong love of mine. So
yeah, I would love to read them out for chat. So please send in your donations if you want me to read your favorite Disney movie.
Absolutely love Pixar. I've speedran nearly every Pixar game. So absolutely a ton of fun. And it was also what introduced me to speedrunning. So big love for Disney, big love for Pixar. This is a pretty short level. We're just gonna make our way here. These clouds will disappear, but we can actually go on just the edge here to go through there. Big extended spring boost to the end, and we're actually going to swap over to Disgust at the end of this level to use her cloud bouncing ability at the beginning of the next level. So we're going to jump on top of this cloud, and we're going to swap over to Fear, bounce on the cloud, and do a swap jump. So that's a neat little bit of routing, being able to combine a cloud bounce with a swap jump. Try to do a little damage boost on that cloud. This section's a little bit tricky. Gonna switch back over to discussed here to get another cloud bounce. I should also say, dimension breaking, there's a couple things that'll lock you back into 2D. Dying, switching characters, and then also grabbing certain ledges or certain poles, and then also completing a level. Those will all lock you back into 2D. So unfortunately, we can't carry dimension break between levels. Otherwise, that would be very cool. So we're going to do one last swap jump here to grab this memory just up here. And then do a dimension break just to get past these blocks and swap back over to fear. And then next level is the shortest level in the run. This can be completed in under 30 or 40 seconds. So we just have a spring right here that we can spring boost off of.
We did just get $5 real quick from Radness saying, I heard sadness fly as sad is fi, and now it seems even more awesome.
Absolutely. It is so satisfying to do it. So the level exit's just right there. Do a simple spring boost. Easily complete it in under 40 seconds. This next level is very cycles based at the beginning, so hopefully I'll get a good cycle. But until then, if you want to read some more donations, that'd be great.
Of course, we have $5 from Anonymous saying $1 for every emotion in Inside Out. Favorite Disney movie is Mulan. I don't know whether to love Shang or Mulan more. Another great debate. And that is a awesome point. If we want to start a $5 emotion Inside Out train, I would love that. $5 for every emotion in Inside Out. The first movie, obviously. But if you want to tag on,
that'd be $9.
Yes. Adding on to both movies, it would be a $9 train, but if you can only do 5, we could do a $5 train, $9 train. Help us out. To reach the Secrets Showcase, we are at 195 out of 500 right now. You all are killing it.
So I just destroyed that blue block there in order to make this spring boost work, because otherwise that would kill our momentum with that block there. So rest of this is pretty simple. We're just kind of trying to damage boost past a bunch of these obstacles. I purposely took a death there, so I'm back in 2D, because doing dimension break while taking a bunch of damage, not a good mix. So I tend to play a bit safer and just kind of damage boost through all these and try to make this cycle with these lava H's that'll allow us to get past the lava. Do a nice little roll off a spring there. I like to call that a spring roll. And then hopefully, let's see what kind of cycle we're here. Have to wait a little bit, but it's okay. And that is the end of that level. We're on to another 3D level, and we have these spikes, and we're gonna wait for this spring to pop up and then do an extended spring boost over on this section. Oh, camera lagging behind a little bit there. It does that occasionally. And then we're gonna swap over to sadness and do a little bit of out of bounds movement. Gonna sadness fly around into this wall. Do another sadness fly forward. And we'll do one more sadness fly to get back in bounds while swapping over to fear. And just skip that entire puzzle right there.
3 sadness flies in a row.
3 sadness flies in a row. So another thing that the characters can do, they have kind of a special attack that you can use with RB that you can see I have 3 charged up in the top left corner. That's used to kind of like hit a bunch of enemies in the area, but that can also stall us out in the air, which will be very useful for like doing this swap jump. So I press RB to try to stall myself in the air, and I missed it. So we'll try to swap back. Okay, never mind. Didn't need it. I was able to swap back without a stall. So, but it makes some of the swap jumps quite a bit easier to do sometimes. Stalling yourself out in the air. It's actually required for some skips later on.
That was so cool. And I also just wanted to hop in here real quick to say we just added a new incentive to add more traps in Sonic Adventure 2, a run that is coming up later in the marathon, which you should totally stick around and check out.
Awesome. Yeah, there's tons of great incentives. So be sure to get those donations in. $5 motion train all helps out for a great cause.
And we actually also had $25 from Half saying, haven't seen any Pixar movies in a few decades, but as a bug-loving kid, A Bug's Life was exactly my jam when it came out. I love A Bug's Life too. Such a cute and fun movie.
Bug's Life is very underrated. I think it's definitely one of my favorites
it's
too.
Super underrated. Like, it was Pixar's second film, so definitely an underrated classic. I know a lot of people aren't super keen on the more modern Pixar films, but I actually love all their new originals. Luca, Onward, Turning Red is really good. Just all their new original movies. And then I actually just got Elio on Blu-ray and saw that in theaters, and that was a really fun movie as well. So a lot of their newer original movies are very fun.
Yeah, and with these donations letting me know what your favorite Disney or Pixar movie is, we are now almost halfway to getting that Secret Showcase incentive. We are at $220 out of $500. We are climbing it up. So thank you all so much. Keep those donations coming.
All right, so we are now in these levels where we get introduced to these gravity changers, which is a very cool game mechanic, and also get very broken later on. We can do a little roll through the gravity changers to keep our momentum. So we're gonna be jumping up here. Nice, skip that cycle. And using gravity to our advantage to get to the other side. And we're gonna do a roll here, do another roll here.
Is it possible to do a sadness fly upside down?
Yes, it is absolutely possible. Later on in a few levels, we're gonna be doing a huge sadness fly through a gravity changer, get a ton of speed and height. So be on the lookout for that. These gravity changers are so cool to play around with, and learning new things about it every single day, every time I play this game. Gonna be depositing a memory here. Doing dimension breaking here is very janky, and I haven't quite figured out how to do it, so we're just gonna do it normally for now. Then make our way here, and then we're gonna combine a swap jump with gravity to make it up to this height to skip having to activate these springs. So I'm going to stall myself out, swap jump to Joy, and then do a couple of hovers at the end here to make it to the end of the level. And we're gonna charge our projectile shot here to destroy these blocks and try to roll through here. Beat these swamp monsters. Gonna jump on this pole and try to jump off it to grab this ledge. Just a tiny little optimization.
Being upside down like this, we actually just got a donation, $20 from Evie Nick saying, do a flip. Also trans rights. Do we have any flipping movement in this game? Or do we just go upside down?
I think we just go upside down.
It's half of a flip.
Yeah, it's
halfway there. Just like how we're almost halfway through the Secret Showcase incentive.
Yeah, we did a neat little puzzle skip there where we were able to double jump and grab a memory worker to skip juggling memory workers around. Here we're going to do a pretty tricky spring boost. This one's a bit newer, so I'm going to do the dimension break here and try to Go away here. And a little bit tricky. Do a spring boost here. Do another spring boost here and hit this green block to prevent it from stopping our momentum. And then I'm still in Dimension Break here, and I'm going to go over to this spring, and I'm going to try to do a spring boost around these blocks and get to the level exit. Let's go. That's a very cool skip. That's one of the newest skips that I've discovered. Very happy I got that. It's really cool doing a spring boost in Dimension Break, going around the blocks.
Not to mention while upside down the most of the time.
Yeah, not to mention while upside down. All right, so we did a Dimension Break there. Again, Dimension Breaking with gravity changers are very jank, so you gotta be very precise with where exactly you land. Otherwise, it's very easy to be somewhere you're not intending to be. So do a neat little skip there. And then we're doing a huge puzzle skip here. This is a very annoying puzzle, but thankfully, since we're in Dimension Break, we can just jump around, and the gravity changer allows us to go through without falling. And then grabbing this pole will reset us back to 2D movement, which is sometimes a bit of a relief, not having to worry about falling out of bounds constantly and getting hit. Didn't quite ground pound that. Gonna be grabbing this memory worker here and do one last puzzle.
Wait, so was the memory worker taking a break and you just throw him back to work?
Yeah, stop taking a break. No, I need you to activate this platform. And then we're gonna do one last swap jump with Joy over to skip one memory worker. So we'll let that memory worker take a break, but you can go back on your break now. Sorry, I just needed you for a quick moment. All right, so here we are going to be switching over to Disgust to bounce up on these clouds. And then we're going to combine Disgust's cloud jump with a swap jump to try to make it up to here. Very nice. Then I'm not actually sure if this spring boost is faster or not because you have to go a little bit to the left, but it's cool, it's flashy, I do it anyways. Gotta be a little bit careful of those tornadoes because those can get in your way. And do a huge spring boost over here, skipping a massive part of the level. And then here I'm gonna try to hit this swamp creature so that I don't accidentally lock on. Because when dashing, sometimes you can lock onto enemies, which is very annoying. And then I'm gonna do a swap jump here. When you're switching characters, you're actually invulnerable, so that will allow us to stand in the lava for a quick moment here and jump up there. And then I got stuck. Okay, massive spring boost over here. And then we're gonna do one last spring boost, combining it with a swap jump to make it up here. Whoops. And then we're gonna press RB to stall ourselves and prevent us from falling, and then just do a quick jump to the top of the level. So the next level, we actually have like a kind of a ball rolling level. There's an invisible ball here that we can roll on and start rolling a little bit early during this cutscene. So these bats are gonna steal these memories, inflate, and then we have to get them to the end of the level. So the momentum is kind of slow and sluggish usually with these ball rolling sections, but if you actually just press roll once, it actually increases our momentum a lot more and allows us to do things like skip and kind of launch over some of these things. So we're just going to be kind of barreling through this level. So this level would be a great time to read out some donations.
Awesome. We have $25 from Anonymous saying more marathon, more Fatels. And who wouldn't want to see more Fatels? We are so close to reaching that secret showcase so that we could have Hockey Babbler show off some amazing secret Easter eggs in the new, in the next run, the Secret Agent Wizard Boy. I am so excited for that run, and you should be too. So you should get your donations in before we reach that next run. This run is almost halfway over, and we are almost halfway to that secret showcase. So we don't have a ton of time. So you should get those in as soon as possible.
Awesome, awesome. So the next level is one of the 2 levels that we're going to be doing a full level skip. Thanks to the dimension break and the wonderful gravity changers, we can kind of just fly our way to the end of the level. So we're going to be doing dimension break and then going just outside the plane, and then we're going to start falling vertically. Gravity just rotates on its side for some reason. So we'll be falling vertically, and then we'll hit a gravity changer and be able to fly to the end of the level. So we're going to do that here. Dimension break, go diagonal, start falling vertically.
Whoa.
And then we're just going to fly to the end of the level. And then we're going to do a ground pound at the end here to get her to stop our momentum. And that's the end of the level.
That is awesome. I actually have a perfect donation here that greatly sums that up. We had $17 from Anonymous that says, ta-da!
Ta-da! All right, so we got 3 more 2D levels left in the run. And we're going to be doing quite a bit of fun stuff with gravity changers here. Try to hit that memory, land just on the edge of the spring to spring boost onto the straw. And then we're going to roll through this gravity changer, and we're going to swap over to sadness to get a swap jump over this gap. And then we're going to do a little bit of a precise setup for this sadness fly to hopefully go through the gravity changer. Very nice. That was perfect. And then we're going to do a sadness fly and grab the memory as we fly to bring it with us. And then we are going to swap over to fear as we make our way across here. And we have to wait a little bit before we can grab the memory again. But now we're going to do a dimension break, land on these blocks here. I'm going to reposition myself a little bit. This one's a little bit finicky. We're going to jump over these swamp monsters here. And then I'm going to try to do a spring boost off this spring here to get to the end, and then jump over these blocks. And that's the end of that level.
That
very nice. That's one of the
so cool.
newer dimension breaks, and that's a little bit scary with that spring boost. Sometimes that spring boost, you can grab the straw and it ends up putting you back into 2D. So you need to re-get dimension break there, but that was very nice. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No problem. I was just gonna say that, chat, it would bring me so much joy and make a great memory if we reach that secret showcase. And by donating towards the secret showcase, a $10 minimum donation could get you entered to win the Secret Agent Wizard Boy coaster. It looks incredible, and who wouldn't want that? And it's a 2-for-1. We get an amazing showcase, and you could possibly win a coaster. Who knows? It's a secret, just like the secret showcase.
Awesome. All right, so here we're going to be combining a spring boost with a swap jump. So I'm going to wait for the spring to go up and do a double swap just so we can get back to fear soon. And then do a swap jump and here. And then we're going to spring boost to the right and then switch to sadness and then spring boost back to the left to grab this memory. And then we'll sadness fly to the right. So just kind of going back and forth there a little bit, and then do a dimension break here and try to get around these blocks. Gonna be a little bit careful here. And then here we're gonna have a massive sadness fly through gravity changers. So I need to line up just on this line and go through the gravity changer all the way to the top here. And then I'm going to go through here, hopefully not grab the straw. That's okay. Make sure I grab that checkpoint. That's okay. All right, I grabbed the checkpoint, so I lost dimension break. Just a little bit slow, but at least I got the checkpoint. You can actually soft lock there if you don't grab that checkpoint, because the springs will end up despawning later on. So gotta be a little bit careful there. But this is a pretty good outcome for this level. And then the next level is our final 2D level of the run, and we're gonna be doing it by skipping the entire thing. So this next level is pretty slow casually. It's pretty normal, not really many skips, but because we have gravity changers, we're going to be skipping the entire thing. So we're going to be swapping over to sadness and going through this gravity changer, and we're going to grab this orb to charge up our special power. And then we're going to grab this memory, get a dimension break here, and then we're going to jump on. Oops. I'm stuck inside the blocks. All right, we're fine. All right, I'm gonna jump on these blocks, and I'm going to sadness fly backwards and then start going to the right. And then I'm gonna start throwing memories to increase my height a little bit. Hopefully that'll be fine. So I'm gonna throw memories every time I change directions, and we'll make our way to the end here. And I think we're not quite sure where we are. All right, we're near the end of the level. This isn't quite perfect, but now we're just going to do a series of swap jumps and stalls in the air to make our way back to the main level playing. I should be able to recover this. I just gotta keep swap jumping.
I love how every 2D level has such a different strategy.
I know, right? Okay, we're almost there. Kind of messed this up a little bit, but just gotta... No! All right. Okay, I gotta redo that. That's okay. This is a very hard skip, very precise, so... But we get to see it again. So we're gonna
That's
grab
awesome.
This memory. All right. Dimension break here. Oops. No, didn't quite get enough height there, so gotta redo the initial launch. Just do that by slowly making our way back to the normal plane. Sometimes if you start moving before you jump, you end up not getting a sadness fly, so you gotta be a little bit precise with your timing. There we go. That should be enough height.
Let's go.
All right, so there's the end of the level, and we're gonna swap to Joy and then Fear. Press RB to stall ourselves in the air. And then, yeah, this is looking a lot better. So now we're just gonna keep swapping between Fear and Joy to make our way to the end of the level. Do one last swap just to be safe here. And that's the end of the level. There we go.
Awesome. Nice.
All right, so we got 3 more platforming levels in the run, and then we have a boss fight at the end. So we got 2 more platforming levels, and then we also have another ball rolling level. So beginning here, we're going to do a pretty precise swap jump to make it on top of this big platform here. So going to use our RB ability to stall ourselves in the air here. This one's very precise and might take me a few tries. Not quite.
Just wanted to sneak in here real quick to say we have opened up a new incentive for Replace Sonic with Amy for Sonic Adventure 2. Just like we're character swapping here, we can do a character swap later for Sonic Adventure 2 with $1,000 of an incentive. We also had $5 from Spaghetti D saying, is sleepy an emotion? Because if I was an emotion, it would be that.
It really should be. Why is that not an emotion?
Maybe that's ennui. Ennui feels pretty sleepy.
Yeah,
That's
I was just
true.
about to say.
All right, so I made the swap jump, but then I ended up falling down, so I gotta do this a little bit. This swap jump is very tricky. You ended up making it. Then we're gonna use Disgust's cloud bounces to make it up here. Okay, we got the checkpoint. Then we're going to do another swap jump to make it on top of this platform. And then we'll sadness fly to the end of the level here.
Like Izzy said before, we are coming down to the last couple of levels, so we only have a little bit of time to finish up that Secrets Showcase, which you all don't want to miss. And we are almost halfway to completing it, and I know we could get there. And then we will hit our amazing milestone of 71,000 right after that. So let's work towards that goal, guys.
Awesome. So we got our second ball rolling level, and we jumped on the ball and rolled down the hill during that cutscene. So just got some more ball rolling. So now would be a great time to read out some more donations, see if we could try to hit that goal.
Of course. We have $25 from Jacob Colding saying, keep up the great work. And we also have $25 from Anonymous saying, keep fighting the good fight. Yay, 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 yay. Less than 3. We also have $10 from Billy Phoenix saying less than 3. Thank you so much. And I'm also loving the favorite Disney movie, favorite Pixar movie donations. And don't forget, we also have that $5 or $9 emotion train going on, where you can donate for either the 5 original emotions from Inside Out, or if you really like Inside Out 2, you can bump that up to a $9 donation. We also had $25 from Dystypical with no comment, but thank you so much for helping us reach our goals here today.
All right, so we are going into the final platforming level before we have the boss fight. So basically the story up to this point has been, we have discovered that the evil swamp monsters are coming from the imaginary boyfriend generator. So in this final level, we have to shut down the imaginary boyfriend generator, but we're actually going to be skipping that, shutting that down. So thus it's called Boyfriend Skip.
Now,
So
who came up with these names? I love this.
I did. I came up with most of the names for this. So Boyfriend Skip, because we skipped the boyfriend generator. I like to think that makes Riley a lesbian. Here, we're just going to go over to Sadness. This actually used to be a lot harder without Sadness flying. We had to do a big spring boost across, around those pillars, but instead we're just going to swap over to Joy and then do a Sadness Fly over to Joy, and that is the end of the level. Now we have to exit out of the level and go over to the final boss, which is a boss against Jangles the Clown. This boss fight is pretty simple. It's mostly just cycles based. So we'll make our way over here. Look at all the levels we've completed so far. Lots of levels. And so for this boss, we need Jingles the Clown to hit his hammer onto the swamp monsters to properly destroy them. And then we have 3 different phases. So if you have any last minute donations. Yeah, he's so scary. I can see why Riley was afraid of him.
Yeah, we have $50 from Sebastian and no comment, but thank you for your generous donation. And we also had $50 from Skiles saying this one goes out to the production team, less than 3. Thank you so much. Oh, we also have $5 from Puzzle Cat saying, well, this looks like another game I need to add to my list. This game looks so fun and whimsical. Amazing job and keep going fast, less than 3.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is a ton of fun. I was able to route this game and find a lot of the initial skips, but we would love to have new runners playing this game. I feel like it's such an underrated game that not a lot of people know about, like the inside-out playset inside of Disney Infinity. So if you want to check it out, we have a Discord server, and like I said, the game goes on sale quite often on Steam. So yeah, I would definitely love to have some new runners come in and give this game a try. So we are round 2. We have 3 rounds total. So this time it swaps around where the buttons are. Also, if we ever get any new runners, if anyone can find a skip for this boss, that would be amazing, because this is a pretty long boss and not much is going on. So that's like our holy grail skip, is finding Jangle's skip. So we should have one more hit for this second round. And I'm just kind of standing around in the middle so that all swamp monsters are on the middle platform that Jingles can hammer.
Now, why is Joy the most effective in this final battle?
The reason I'm using Joy is because when I did Boyfriend Skip, I swapped over to Joy in order to get her hover for the end. And since this level doesn't really have any fast moving, it's faster to not switch characters again back to Fear. So essentially, I just use the character that I end as in the previous level, and that just happened to be Joy. So this third time, they try to make it even crazier by swapping around the orders on the ground, but still pretty simple, just finding the right one to press. We should have one more hit. And time is coming up. Time will end as soon as the status screen for the level disappears. All right, so that's the final hit. We got one more bonus round where you can pop some balloons. Get a little celebration for the end of the run. And wait for it. And time.
Let's go.
Ooh, GG.
All right. That was Disney Infinity's Inside Out. Thank you all so much for watching. This was a ton of fun. Thank you for all the donations. Spaghetti, I saw you in there. Thank you so much for donating during my run. If you want to check me out, I'm izzyhope58 on Twitch. I speedrun all sorts of Disney games and Pixar games, movie-based games. That's kind of my bread and butter, playing movie licensed games. Absolutely love it. So be sure to check me out. Yeah, Echo Tree, if you have anything you want to say.
Yeah, I've been Echo Tree. I stream on Twitch a lot of Disney and cute, wholesome games as well. But yeah, thanks Izzy for allowing me to join you with this fun run. And quite the showcase you got going on right now.
Yeah, so the level select area is actually below the final boss for some reason. So I figured I'd just show that off at the end of the run. But yeah, thank you all for watching.
Yeah, and shout out to the Disney Infinity Discords as well. A lot of cool people in there, and we'd love to have anyone join.